Kaki.
Oke.
Hello, Britzoners.
Hello everyone.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Britzoners.
Hello.
Welcome back on Britzone English Betterment Series class.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay.
Hi, Britzoners.
Yeah. Hello. Well. Okay. Thank you guys for all of you who are joining us again in this Wednesday class. I guess while we're waiting for others to join, I want to say hi to greet some of you, especially for the first timer. Is it anyone in here? Newcomer? You may just unmute yourself, or yeah, maybe I wanna call some of you. Kak Arvin Reza. Halo Kak Arvin. Are you there? Halo Kak. Are you there Kak Arvin? Okay. Maybe the other. Kak Yasrin. Halo Kak Yasrin.
Hello.
Hello. I guess you are not a first timer.
Yeah.
Already seen you several times. Okay. All right. So, is it? Are you still remember the first time that you joined our class? Maybe what class is that? Do you still remember it?
I think it's
You joined in online
sharing.
Yes.
Sharing class. Sharing class. Really just
About?
sharing to tell a story. That's my
You join it. Yeah. You join it while we are in online, or back then while we still got offline class. You already join us.
online.
Oh. So yeah. Hopefully later in the future, we're gonna help the offline class, and we could meet and have the class together. Okay, thank you, Kak Yasrin. Right. Okay, the other one, maybe Yostampi.
Yeah.
Halo Kak.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Ya, ini pertama kali sih. Just curious about the class since I want to apply for S2, so the class is interesting.
Yes, Kak.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you the first timer?
Yes, first timer.
Oh, wow. So, if I don't misheard you talk, you say about you want to apply for S2 for the master. All right. I hope you could take many things later on from the conductor presentation, and you also can enjoy this class. Maybe one more. Kak Sanya. Halo Kak Sanya. Halo deh. Ya, halo Kak Sanya.
Hello. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, it's clear. You are not the first timer as well, I guess. So, yeah. What do you think about our class today?
Actually, it's my fourth or fifth class. Yesterday, I supposed to join the class too, but there are some jobs I have to do, so I can join the last class. And today, I think the topic is so interesting. Even though I don't have any plans to sign up for master degree anytime soon.
Yeah, it's okay. But I guess you still can get a lot of beneficial thing and knowledge from this presentation. Okay, I think yeah. Before we begin the class, as usual, we have some announcement about our community. Karaki, our Zoom host, will you help me to share the screen? All right, thank you, Karaki. Okay, guys. So yeah, once again, hello, Britzoners. So yeah, basically, Britzone is the largest free English community in Jakarta. This is the place for all of us to practice our English. And yeah, in here we have several values. Britzone is an open platform, so everyone from any kind of background could just freely join us. And we are in here also trying to make Britzone a place that is free of judgment. And also, yeah, as a non-profit organization, Britzone is run by inspiring committees and conductors who are all volunteers. Next. Yeah, as a part of our main program, Britzone have 3 regular classes. And the first one is Britzone Speaking Academy. Yeah, it held on Tuesday every week, starts at 7 p.m. This class is focused on public speaking, such as speech, debate, interview, and others. Next. Yeah, the second one is Britzone English Betterment Series, which is what we have today. Yeah, it also held at 7 p.m. but on Wednesday, and this class touches for English skill, which are listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And the last but not least is Prison Fun Day. This class usually bring much more various topic for weekly discussions, and we try to help in a fun way. Next. Yeah, Britzone also have several social media to keep you get updates about our activities, about our community. Our main platform actually is on IG, so please do follow us at Britzone ID. But yeah, as you can see, we also have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And yeah, we are right now live on YouTube. So yeah, hello for the YouTube viewers. If you have some question, just ask and put it in the chat box. So later on, we're gonna read one of your questions there. Yeah, and since we are a non-profit organization, to sustain our community, Britzone have BusyMart and BusyMart for our fundraising program. Yeah, with BusyMart sell some products that have been developed by our entry team. We have T-shirt, lanyard, notebooks, and many other as well. Yeah, please just contact our BusyMart account on Instagram to find out more about our product, or you just can WhatsApp the number on the screen. If there's anything that you want to ask, just freely reach out our BusyMart team. Next. Yeah, and yes, also for years, Britzone have been supported by Library of the Education and Culture Ministry, but due to the pandemic, we cannot go there for a while. But you still can access their collection. You can access so many books collection, audio collection there, because they are available online now. Just simply register yourself and take their membership. Yeah, you can reach out find out more. Just found them in Instagram at Perpustakaan Dikbud. Okay. Yeah, in the end of the class, as usual, we have after class tradition, guys. So we're gonna taking pictures together, and also later in our WhatsApp group, we will give you guys the feedback links. Please don't forget to also fill that out because your feedback it's really matters for future class of Britzone. And yeah, also Britzone also sponsored by Atmago, and for the further explanation, I will get help from my teammate regarding the Atmago app. Yeah, Icha, are you there?
Okay, thank you, Kak Dimas, for the time.
Yeah.
And maybe for the first, Karaki, can you share the screen of Atmago application? Okay, guys, while we are waiting for the screen, let me introduce myself. My name is Icha, and now let me introduce you about this application. So Atmago is one of the social network application in Indonesia for helping neighbor issues and with campaign Warga Bantu Warga. So in this application, you can write the issue about your neighbor, and you can find so many donors here. Also, if you are a CEO founder of the community, you can register your community here and found some people, and you can get connected with them. Also, if you are not a CEO founder of the community, you can still find the communities that have some variety communities, and you can join with them. So, Karaki, are you ready? Can you share the video?
Wait.
Okay, so guys, beside that, when you install this application, you can also get free counseling with the psychologist about corona issues, and it's free, and they are available since from Monday until Friday. They are available start from 9 a.m. until 4 a.m. Okay, let's watch the video now.
Apa itu Atmago? Atmago adalah sebuah media sosial berbasis masyarakat dengan semboyan warga bantu warga. Atmago mengajak warga masyarakat untuk saling berbagi informasi di sekitarnya secara online. Informasi dapat berupa berita, lowongan kerja, pengaduan, dan pengumuman kegiatan warga yang semuanya bersifat lokal. Atmago mengajak kita untuk menjadi jurnalis warga yang mampu mengabarkan keadaan sekitar kita sendiri yang mungkin luput dari pemberitaan media besar. Ayo beratmago dan tunjukkan siapa dirimu.
Okay, thank you so much, Karaki. So guys, after you watch this video, I hope you interested to install this application, because with installing application, you can help for so many people. And then, yeah, what are you waiting for? Let's find it application on App Store and Google Play Store. I hope you can install it as soon as possible. Thank you, Kadimas. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Icha. Yeah, so this guys, if you have some information and you want to update it, just download that Atmago app, because who knows, maybe you can help someone out there with your information. Okay, I think that's all from the announcement. So yeah, we just begin our class. I think some of you who cannot wait for too long about this class, because today's class actually the next part of our class from last week. Last week we talked about how to prepare your school application, and right now we will talk about in much more in-depth view about how to make a resume, how to prepare your CV, and I will introduce you again to this amazing conductors team from Origo team. Hello guys from Origo. It's really
Hello.
wonderful
Hi.
to have you again in our class. For the speaker, the first one is Kak Sharon.
Yeah, hi. Hi, guys.
Hello Kak Sharon. She is Sharon graduated from the University of Southern California in 2016. She earning summa cum laude honors for her major in business administration. And Kak Sharon not only on herself, she also brings her friends from her team. There are Kak Fitriana. Hello, Kak Fitriana. Kak Jessica.
Hi, good evening all.
Yes. And also Kak Ines. Kak Ines.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Good
Hello,
evening,
Kak.
guys. Thank you for
Yes.
inviting us.
Yes. And also Kak Gracia Anggreni.
Hi, guys.
Okay. All right. I think some of you, I guess, really excited about this class, and I just wanna let Origo's team to take over the session and the stage. So good luck, and the stage is yours.
See, would you mind helping us do some of the screen sharing today?
Yeah. Arati, may you could help us? Okay.
Okay, so I'll just get started real quick since it's already 7:20. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for showing up today, right? As you know, last week, what we had covered is the overall application requirements if you're trying to go to the UK, Australia, or the Netherlands. So today what we want to discuss a lot more broadly is, how do you build a strong CV? So at the very least, if you're not applying for, your S2, you can use this to strengthen your current job hunting, right? I'm sure a lot of you are trying to look for jobs right now, and the pandemic is making it quite difficult. The second thing is that today we also want to show you how you can strengthen your personal statement. So while there's many different prompts, we will give you the general outline of what makes for a strong one. Okay, next. So just a little bit about us. Again, we help students study abroad since 2018. And what we'd like to see is more talented Indonesians coming back and driving changes and innovations at home. So that's why we exist. Next. These are our services. We can just do your personal statements. We can help you enter the universities, that top universities like the Ivy Leagues, or we can work with other universities as their agent representatives as well, right? So whatever you need, we would have it all for you. And this is us. But Britzone has kindly introduced all of us to you. And with that, I think we'll get started. I'm going to hand over the speaker to Jessica, who's going to talk about the resume section of it.
Okay, thank you, Sharon, for the introduction. So compared to the last session, which was last week, where we talked about the overall things you need to prepare and what are the application process and the steps that you need to make sure that you fulfill. Today, we're going to talk specifically about resume and essay, and we're going to go in depth with these two things.
Yeah. So wait, why do we start with the resume first before the essay?
Basically, because before you actually start writing your essay, you might think that, oh, I want to get started on my essay right away without actually cleaning up my resume first, right? But that is actually a wrong order, because first thing that you need to do is to clean up your resume. Make sure that you put your best experience there. You have definitely put the descriptions there accordingly. And after that, only you can link some of your best experiences or, highlights of achievements to your essay. So first, do your resume. The next thing, you need to strengthen your essay. Next. So what is a graduate application resume? Like most all resumes out there, basically a graduate application resume's purpose is to showcase about your education, your experiences and accomplishments that makes you qualified to apply to that particular major and university, right? This will help the admission officers know more than just your grades, but also, let's say, what are the things that you like to do in your free time, which will be showcased through your extracurricular experiences. And to write a successful college graduate resume, you need to follow these 4 steps. First, provide professional contact info, and then use a resume summary, which means that you need to keep it short and concise. Use keywords and strong action verbs to highlight your education, experience, and skills. Emphasize your hobbies, interests, and other publications if you have any. Next thing is about resume building. It's about the introduction. Before you actually jump to writing down your resume or drafting it, there are probably several questions in your mind, like how many people have designed a resume before? Should I follow their examples, right? And next thing, what are the purpose? Like what I mentioned before, it tells your story, it facilitates your self-discovery, and it acts as a representation of you in, let's say, the past few years, right? And it's definitely a good idea for you to keep updating your resume as each year passes, just to make sure that when the time comes for you to apply for your graduate degree or for that specific job vacancy, you're more ready to strengthen your resume. Right. Now, the next thing, you kind of already understand the foundation of why it's important to strengthen your resume, right? Now we go a bit more technical of what is the format of a good resume that you can follow, because we see that in Indonesia, most people would usually put everything in their resume. They would put, their hobbies, their interests, or probably some might put stories about the things that they like and like the top of the introduction and things like that. But here is the summary of what you should put. We divide it into the introduction section. This is the first one. The experiences section is the second. The additional information is the third. For the intro part, you need to make sure that you have a good heading, which only consists your name, your address, and your contact info, right? No need to put your pictures in it.
So this is only in context for abroad, yeah? Like in Indonesia, a lot of people want you to put pictures, right? But there are several countries, so for example, like the UK, the US, and Ireland, where putting your picture is a major no-no.
Yeah. We'll talk a bit later, like why putting your picture is a big no-no, right? You might wonder about that as well. The next thing is about your education. You might want to focus only on your latest education qualification, let's say your bachelor's degree, and not your entire junior high school and senior high school education. And the GPA as well. And this might usually be GPAs out of 4. That's the recognized globally GPA. Experiences, we divided this into 2 parts, the work experience and the extracurricular experiences, to make it more neat. So you don't want to jumble all experience into just one section, right? List them chronologically and make sure that you don't describe everything. For one experience, you describe it with 6 lines or even up to 10 lines. You don't need to, right?
So sometimes, yeah, sorry to cut you off. So sometimes what we also see is that when somebody lists their education, they'll list all of the trainings that they've received.
Yeah.
Right, which is kind of unnecessary. all you need to do is show the education that you have for your bachelor's degree and perhaps some sort of like certification or any let's say postgraduate diploma as well, right? But whatever company training you did, you don't have to list that in, because that'll take up your resume to 3 pages plus.
Yeah. So only the highlight, like the best thing or the top-notch ones that you should put. Extracurricular here, this can be, for example, if you have like done something during your undergraduate degree, right? Especially if you don't necessarily have work experiences, then you can mention extracurricular experiences like leadership skills that showcase those skills, your management skills and other skills that relate to the major that you're applying to. Additional information here, skills and interests. You no need to put emojis, right? We often tend to put everything like just to beautify our resume, but admission officers just wanted to know what you're good at. Like, what are your skills that makes you qualified? So if you're good at computer programming, if you're good at Python, if you're good at, finance thing, just put that in. And what's the title of that skill? Your interest?
What's also interesting is just like, how whenever we get resumes, right, people who apply even to us, there's a bar, and then people out of 100 write their levels, right? Like you have 100% in math, and then like 50% in Microsoft Word. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is just state the bullet point, right?
Yeah, like the bar thing where it's like you're full 100% qualified in something. Meanwhile, there's your own judgment, not like you were assessed by a certain test, right? Yeah. Next. So you might kind of confused about what was that I described to you. This is what I meant. A clean, nice, no emoji resume that will strengthen your graduate application. As you see in the top, your full name should be there, probably Denny Herdi Priyatna, right? I see you there. Put your full name. Also, Kadeni, put your address there, your active email address, or your phone number. Avoid mentioning your ethnicity, like Sundanese, your date of birth, or even your age, or even you're married or not. Please avoid those things. And it's best, definitely recommended not to put your portrait picture, because then abroad, like let's say if you want to apply to a graduate degree abroad, putting your pictures inside of your resume might be considered as a discrimination against each applicant. So instead of focusing on you and yourself and your experiences, the admission officers may take a look at your picture and determine which ethnicity that you actually came from. And each admission officers have their own preferences. Even each university have their own policy and preferences that might be tricky for us. So it's always better to not put your picture.
Yeah, so like in South Asia, right, if we're talking about Singapore, we've just processed one recently, they still ask for the picture. But in a lot of different states that are, I would say, like a lot more westernized, they would not prefer to put your picture in. Because if you put your picture in, the applicants can sue one day based on affirmative action that you discriminated against them, right? And the other reason why Jessica also mentions to structure it this way is because this is clean. This is a very clean resume where at one glance, if you take a look at this one page, everything is clear, right? Like you can see the work experiences, the extracurriculars, the award in one go. Because again, as you're sifting through like so many different resumes, you don't want to be trying to figure out like what this person put in the different layouts. Like what you think is pretty is actually time consuming for people who are reading it.
Yeah, correct. And then just a little bit of details for the education section. Remember, it's best to put your bachelor's degree. Like what I mentioned, experiences here, you divided them into 2 parts, right? The work experience and extracurricular activities. What if you don't have work experiences, but you have internship? Then you can mention like internship experience, like work experience / internship is fine. Awards, mention if you have any of those in undergraduate degree, please do. Like if you graduate with a summa cum laude as well, just you can mention that here as well. Next. Okay, we kind of nudged before about the differences of resume in Indonesia versus abroad. right? So this is kind of the summary of what we have put together for your information to make it more clear for you, which should you take example from and which should you avoid. The key points here we have summarized based on the experience highlights, the description of activities, your private info section, the sentence structure. Yes, that matters. Just because the resume showcase all of your activities does not mean that the sentence structure doesn't matter. The outline and the design. Experience highlights, please make sure that you focus on the quality and impact of your experiences. No need to put everything in it. Put only those that really showcase what you're capable of, right? And relate, remember, relate to the major that you want to apply to. Activities description. Focus more on your leadership skills and accomplishments rather than focusing to describe what the company is about, because the admission officers won't get impressed if that's a big, if you keep on describing how big the company is instead of what you actually contributed to when you were in that position. Private info, like what I said before, your phone number, active email address, and how can they contact you. English sentence structure, make sure that it is grammar mistakes free. If you're unsure of the sentence structure, have someone proofread your essay, proofread your resume, because no one would get comfortable reading a resume with lots of grammar mistakes, right? Outline, just to make sure that you divide the sections within your resume horizontally rather than vertically. We will show you an example after this. And the design, no need to put exaggerated design icons or emojis or, you know, the bar that says you're 100% qualified of certain skills. I used to do that once, but now I realize, right, that is just my own assessment, right? Not professionally assessed or something like that. Next. This is an example. The left one, we have kind of blurred out the name, and we have, we want to showcase that the left one, as you can see, is divided like, I would say vertically. Introduction is in the left section, about me and contact like down below, and the work experience is there. There's only 2, but you can put like probably 3, but 2 if there are like only 2. Education should be put in the top, right? And the skills, right, it's in the bottom, but better on the right side. If you can see, it's easier to read, don't you think so? The logic of the mind is when you take a look at the resume, you want to be focused on, okay, where does this person go to school? Right? Oh, she used to go to Washington, Seattle, and then the work experiences. What is she capable in, or what is she specialized in? Okay, cool. Next thing, what are the things that she does outside of her, you know, work time? Oh, she does a Japan club here, and then she also attends Japanese cultural festival, correct? And then the honor and awards, like, oh, these are such really great experiences. Has she ever achieved anything like an award? Yes, she has. And the last thing is any certifications that she has ever received.
Yeah. So what happens if you don't have a good GPA?
Kenapa? Sorry.
What happens if you don't have a good GPA? Let's say like your GPA is a 2.6.
Okay, that is a very good question. If your GPA is like, let's say it's 2.6 or it's 2.8, should you put that in your resume? Well, as you know, that most graduate degree would require you to have a 3.0 resume in general. Let's say the Russell Group universities would usually ask you to have 3.0 in general, some even higher. But so if you want to apply to those universities and they specifically ask for a 3.0, we don't recommend you to put your 2.8 GPA or 2.6 GPA, right? Because then that's just like straightly saying to the admission officers, like, hey, I don't really have the GPA that you're looking for, but, you know, I have these lots of experiences. But remember, schools or graduate degree, they're very strict with their entry requirements. As we have mentioned previously, entry requirements consist of the English qualifications and the GPA. So if you don't fulfill those 2 things, you might want to check out other schools that you are, you know, capable to apply.
Yeah. maybe this is an aside too, right? Like not exactly for applications in graduate school, but your GPA is really only important for your first job, right? Beyond that, after you get your first job, if your GPA is very low, I would just tell you take that out and emphasize more on your work experience. Yeah, that's also another solution. Okay. Oh, next.
Right, this is for your references. Like, can we just go a bit to the previous? I just want to show like 5 seconds. The previous slide. If you see here, the bullet points on the good resume part, the first for each of these sentences description, you can see that all of them start with verbs, right? So if we see on the next slide, we have summarized here for you. You can take a pic of it. Strong action verbs that you can use for your activities description. So if you ask, should each of my activities description be started with, these strong action verbs? Yes, we would recommend that, because a strong action verbs would strengthen your resume. It goes straight to the point rather than you saying, I was responsible for managing the funds XXX. Rather, you can say managed the funds of my company of a total, USD 100,000. Right, something like that.
So if I were you and I'm making the resume, I would literally print this out and, instead of saying responsible for coordinating, I don't know, XYZ, responsible for raising funds, right? You can find a much better verb and that will make all the difference in your resume. And this is also for your writing, right? When you write something, instead of just saying, I created this, I built this, there are a lot of different synonyms that you can use from here. Okay, next seat. Jess, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Jess, you're on mute.
Sorry, ke-mute lagi.
Sorry. Maaf.
I can see that you're talking very excitingly, but you were on mute.
Sorry. Jadi, we've come to the part where we want to kind of summarize again the do's and don'ts of college resume, because we often skip this part and we just focus on, the essay, which is like just a nightmare because you're so confused to write anything, but your resume needs attention too. So these are the do's. Remember first to include your relevant experiences. This is the example. The Regina girl here only put relevant experiences in her resume, and she has no grammar mistakes here. Probably there are some, but this is just an example, not a really perfect one. And if you can see, she mainly focused on her experiences, achievements, and personal skills. Like there are no like long introduction of her skills and no emojis and other things. That's just an exaggerated design. Hobbies and interests are mentioned like on the last section here. She didn't mention hobbies, I think, but she put like skills and certifications, which is
There's a question for you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so Putri asked, I would like to ask regarding conferences, particularly as a presenter and publication, can we add all of them in our resume?
I would like to ask, all of them? May I ask like Kaputre Rahmatul, how many do you say, like all of them? Like how much do you have in mind? Let's say if you have 5 publications, because here I want to clarify as well. Do you have work experiences, let's say around more than 5 years? Because the resume length that we would recommend you to have is actually 1 if you have less than 5 years of work experience, and that include any publications that you've done in the past, because then you need to adjust the skills or any publications, the skills and certifications part here as publications, right? You can do that. And we would recommend, if it's like too long, we would recommend only put the top notch. Let's say that you want something in the regional level, and then you want another thing in parallel to that in the national level. Just put the national level one, because logically people would think, oh, okay, she has definitely passed through the regional one, and she achieved the national ones. So put
Yeah.
only the top notch.
Or even then, if you have a lot, the smart thing to do would be how you format it, right? Which is things like, widening the margin. And like if you have 5 publications, you can actually write it in 1 line. That could be a way where you can get everything in. But in general, yes, publications are quite impressive, right? Not everybody has a publication. And being able to be a good speaker in a conference is also a skill that a lot of people look for. Yeah, so those are great skills to be able to put in.
And I think that if there are other achievements that you have achieved, like probably if the publications you want to sneeze in within the professional history, if that relates to your work experiences, you can do that. Gitu. Just to think around on how you can format the page, because back again, we want to make sure that your resume is clean and neat and not that long, like not full 2 pages long, right? Of course, consistent font color, size, and type. Spacing usually is 0 or 1. Sometimes we use 1, sometimes we use 0, depends on how packed it is. Avoid any unnecessary extra content, of course. Next. Again, feel free, guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask, like just ask away in the middle of the presentation. Don'ts of college resume. It's pretty easy, like to compare this resume to the previous one. If you want to apply for graduate degree abroad, right, you want to avoid dividing your resume into 2 sections and putting your pictures here and putting too much information about yourself. Like, I'm a final year student of language. Just put this in your education section and just say that when you graduate or your expected graduation. So if you're currently in your semester 6, then you can say your expected graduation is when, like put the year, right? Negative comments about former employer, no need, definitely. Oh, sorry, Efta.
We have someone who raised their hand. Hi, Efta.
Hi, Mbak. I want to ask regarding, wait, I'm opening my resumes. As you said, like, you just put very briefly, but the thing is, I want to put my extracurricular activities, but most of them is totally different with my job, my current job, because I'm working in audit stuff, but mostly my extracurricular thing is mostly in doing social project, just kind of thing. So should I put that, or because it's not relevant? So as based on your explanation, it's kind of like I shouldn't put that, So, but other than that, I don't have any extracurricular activities. Just mostly I'm, like goes around the project things, but mostly this with NGOs kind of thing. So how about it?
Maybe I will answer for a bit, and Sharon, feel free if you want to add after that. So basically, if you have those social activity experiences, then yes, we recommend you to put it in, because basically the extracurricular experiences, it's not, you don't need to tailor them to, let's say you want to apply to finance and you have to have these, it's mandatory for you to have these finance extracurricular. No, not necessarily, right? Because what you need to know about universities is that they like to see someone who's active, like who's passionate about what they do. Also, someone who has a social side to them. So if you have engaged yourself in these social activities, like let's say you are actually part of Britzone and you conduct this free presentation or workshops to people who want to study English, it is a good side of you. It's a good trait that you contribute back to the community, because that's what they want to know about you as well. Like, you don't just focus on yourself, but you also giving back to the community.
I don't have anything to add. I think that's good. Yeah.
Other things, because I took like online course. So where should I put it? I mean, like, should I put it in above my bachelor? Because there's certification on it as well, or just the below one, like
Okay. Is the
example?
online course-nya itu legal gitu, like there's an institution for that, right?
For example, like Coursera kind of things, or yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Actually, you can like put, if you want to put some of them, like the top-notch ones, you can put that underneath the extracurricular activities. You don't need to put like all of them. Like you can put a title as in online certification or training certification, and then put like from which university that you studied from, and then in the bullet points just mention that, oh, you have studied what subject, right? And things like, so you can make that into one thing actually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There's one more question. How about unrelated work experiences we do in the present time? Do we need to input it too? Right? And how about the current work experience that we have? Do we need to use verbing or only the present verb to describe it in the descriptive box? The second one's easier to answer. You can just use the present verb, right? And keep that consistent. The thing about the work experience is if your resume isn't full, right, I would put it in, just because for the graduate application, for both the graduate application and also for your work experience, actually, you might be bringing a different skill set to the table, right? So like maybe with FDA's experience in, volunteering work, right? What that tells me about her is that even though she's an auditor, right, who normally works with number, she has a capability to work with people. Right. So when you're doing unrelated work things, you're more likely to come in with a different skill set as well. Right. And that makes you more interesting.
Yeah. Wow, we have interesting questions coming in. Okay, probably like just a brief thing about resume, because we're going to talk about essays after this. So
Yes.
I want you to focus about that. Just, keep your questions about resume at the end of this presentation. Next.
Yeah, maybe we can go through it a bit quicker.
Okay, just the do's and don'ts. If you see here the don'ts, make sure that, as you can see, the company's description is like taking 3 lines in itself, and leading a team of 5 as the bullet point description can be replaced with what you actually achieved, right? And then for this, nominated as the best architect of the year, this can be cleaned up for like to make it less choppy. This is what I say about sentence structure. So you want to make it like align with the other bullet points as well. Next. Right, this is just the don'ts, the do's and don'ts again, like an example. Mr. Peter Parker has kindly put his handsome face in the resume. Unfortunately, that will actually kind of disadvantage him in his graduate application compared to if he does not put his face in it, right? As you can see, there is no, there's like clean thing, no emojis. Meanwhile, on the left side, there are emojis in between each sections. There are no Sundanese here on the good part. Meanwhile, on the left side, you can see the date of birth is 1990. Is it like 25 years old? I'm not sure, but Sundanese there should not be put, right? Next.
Unfortunately.
Okay, just a bridge to talk about personal statement. As I mentioned before, that how your resume relate to your essays, that you put your highlight like best experiences, and you want to showcase that in your essay. What I meant by showcase is that you want to go in depth, because in your resume, it's just a bullet points. It's just mentioning things what are good at. But you have these challenges, you have this, ups and downs. And if the university want to know more of your story, you can tell that in your essay. Next.
So we're going to talk about the actual personal statement right now for the remaining time, and a little bit about how to clean up your English. Put it simply, the personal statement isn't like, let's say you have your resume, right? Don't write the exact same thing in your personal statement, or just make it like I accomplished, X, Y, Z in a very bland manner. Right? The personal statement is actually designed to be a holistic story, because you can put your accomplishments in the CV, right? In the CV, I want to see things like you've achieved 100 million, 100 juta in sales, right? But in your personal statement, what you need to showcase is how you got there, right? So it's that humanizing aspect about yourself. And the key is that you have to sound both smart and also very likable, right? Sometimes when you tend to write in a manner with a lot of fluff and the admissions officer likes you, you may not actually have a lot of technical content in there. So especially for a graduate school, you want to be able to showcase what it is you bring to the workplace, right? Because if you are a strong leader, if you are a good communicator, you want to be able to put all of that into the personal statement. Okay, next. So there are a couple of challenges of writing a personal statement, right? This is tailored a little bit for Britzoners. First of all, English isn't your first language. English has a lot of different grammatical form, right? One of which is, the past, present, and the future. In Indonesia, we don't really have that concept of time, right? We don't have has, had, have been, and all of that complexities. The other thing in English is a lot of words also carry multiple connotations. So if you're not careful, you might accidentally offend the admissions officers because you don't understand how to use the word properly, right? But that's the worst case scenario. Second of all, the challenge of this type of writing is that whereas we're always taught to write academically, maybe for the first time, we have to write in a style that's also personal. And lastly, you also need to add your own voice. So when you're writing, right, write as if you speak. If I'm reading this, can I hear this person's personality come out, right? And that is one of the hardest things to do, because sometimes you're not sure, you have a lot of thoughts, but you don't know how to package it properly so that it actually conveys the intended meaning, right? But today we'll show you how to do just that. Okay, next. Sometimes we get this question, right? To what extent does the personal statement, make a difference in my application? Different universities kind of have different views on it, right? So some universities, we've just picked the most selective in the US, right? For their acceptances, a lot of them, the top ones would say it's very important. Some of them would kind of say that it's, important to somewhat important, right? But when you are in graduate school, and let's say that you're borderline, right? Like you all have a 3.0 done, your GRE or GMAT score is the same as the other candidates, right? Your resumes are both, both showcase a lot of leadership experiences, some diversity. How does the admission officer decide whether or not they want to take you in? It's through the personal statement where they get to know you, right? Because you have to remember that you are not going to talk to these people. So for most of the applications, you don't get an interview first and then submit the personal statement, but you submit the personal statement first, which is it's their first impression of you, right? Like if you've met somebody over dinner and you don't like them, chances are you probably don't want to be friends with them anymore. So that's what the application is. The first thing that the officer thinks is, does the student come across as offensive, right? If it does, typically you will not be admitted because they don't want to have that person, in their university. The second one is, what unique qualities does the student have, and does he or she make a good fit for the university? So the reason why the personal statements are important is that you're not the only one who's evaluating the university on whether or not you would make a good match, but the university is also evaluating you. And what this has to do is, if you're a better fit for the university, you're more likely to enroll as a student, right? So they want to be able to admit students who are likely to enroll. Okay. Next. So some of these prompts were in the last session. I'm just going to put it up here for you to see. Basically, the key takeaway is that all of these universities require some sort of personal statement. The shorter ones for graduate school are about 500 words, right? The longest one that we've seen is from King's College, where you have to write more around 2 pages. But either ways, what they're asking for is the same thing. Basically, they want to know, 1, the obvious, why do you want to do a master's degree, right? 2, what past experiences have you had? And 3, how can you bring them into the classroom, right? So based on after you enroll in my university, what are you going to do? What are you going to accomplish that's going to make me proud to have you as an alumnus? I think that's the way that they think, right? They don't just want the smart, nerdy students, but they want people who can change the world, right? Yeah. So with the personal statement, you either have one like the University of Amsterdam and Edinburgh, which are highly specific, or you have one like the University of Groningen and King's College London, which is a bit more open-ended, right? We also have another slide that covers Australia. Next. So I think for Melbourne, you just have to write 500 words, right? They just ask you about your long-term career goals, the background that you can bring, gaps that you want to learn, right? And a workplace situation where you were a leader. So it just seems like in Australia, the word count that we've seen has been shorter. It's only 500 words, right? Again, we'd like to reiterate, Australia is the simplest application from the Netherlands, Australia, and the UK. The UK will be the most demanding one. Next. All right, so what makes for a strong personal statement? Now, the reason for why we start with the CV is because your CV and your personal statement should make sense, right? They shouldn't feel like two different people writing it, and therefore they're supposed to complement one and another, okay? The statement should also be very easy to follow and have a logical train of thought, right? The insights should be deep instead of superficial. So if I'm reading the personal statement and I don't really understand the point of what you're writing because you're rambling all over the page, I probably wouldn't admit you, right? So your thought, it has to be clear. It has to have a logical sequence where A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D, right? We'll illustrate it in a bit. You should also talk about your strengths, right? I think that a good point that was brought up was the fact that a lot of people like to write about their weaknesses here, right? You can write about your weaknesses, but it's more important that you showcase how you overcame them. Yeah. So it's so important that you learn to brag a little bit, that you learn, don't be modest when you're writing, and showcase everything that you're proud of, right? You may not be able to do it, in the workplace or at home, but you can do it here. The last one is if you have an example, right, you should use concrete examples. So these are things like statistics, right? I was able to reduce 50 million in costs instead of just saying, I'm good at identifying different cost variables. I think those are two different examples.
Yeah, and it's like what's contrary compared to abroad essays than those essays that we usually write for Indonesian universities is that if you want to apply abroad, it's definitely recommended for you to kind of brag about yourself. Like we are not even kidding about that. You need to put like, let's say you raised the company's revenue by 100 million. Put 100 million in, like you raise 100 million revenue within the span of a few months. Put that in instead of feeling like, oh, I feel bad. Like I just don't want to put that much because, it's the teamwork. We all know it's a teamwork, but just put that in, right? Because they will call your team and justify and like they want to see those statistics that makes you strong.
Yeah, so EFTA has another question, right? How if I write something which is not available in my resume? That's actually a question that we'll get to in a little bit. The short answer is yes, you can, right? When we're talking about writing other things outside of your resume, it could be extracurriculars you didn't put in. It could also be some very personal things, right? And let me discuss those personal things in the next few slides, but I will answer your question. Okay, next.
Sorry, wait a minute. Agak susah.
Agak lagi, nggak apa-apa kok.
Gitu. If you guys have more questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat box so that we can notify each other whenever a new question pops up.
So, okay, for the pitfalls that you have to avoid is, don't use fluff words. Don't try to use cliches. Do not write under the assumption. When I 10, certain topics that you should kind of stay away from are drug and alcohol usage. If you've been to jail, right? try not to talk about that. Bullying another student, it's a major no-no, right? And while you can be confident, you also don't want to be too overconfident.
What do you mean by cliche?
So cliche is something like, let's say if I'm trying to apply to USC, right? And then I use what their mascot is. I can't wait to be a Trojan of 2023. Every other person who has written, who is trying to get into USC will write that, right? Or using, I don't know, English cliches like, apa ya? When I was younger, that's one of them. Like commonly used phrases, see people.
Or like probably talking too much about the university as well. Like let's say you want to apply to University of Manchester and you say, I can't wait to apply to University of Manchester because it's one of the best university or something like that.
Okay. So now we're going to get to Efla's question. Can you go to the next slide, CC? Okay. So while yes, 1 and 2 is quite obvious, 3 will answer Efla's question, right? In a lot of the universities, sometimes there are gaps that you need to explain. If, for example, you took a year off from work, right? Like you were not working for a year and you had family matters to deal with, let's say like a death in your family, or a financially difficult situation, or even mental health challenges, you can actually add them in. So in a lot of these universities, they typically have another section where you can discuss these, right? But the key is that when you're discussing something personal about yourself, right, whether or not it's some form of challenge or a personal tragedy, I would try to put a spin on it so that you are also emphasizing what you learned, right? So for example, one of the students that we had, she had a lot of C's, right? There was a period of semester where she had like a lot more C's than a normal student would. And what she did was she had to address that, right, in her personal statement, which is to say, actually, my grandmother was she was dying of cancer. And so I was taking care of her. I had to fly back and forth from Singapore. But it's made me stronger in ways where I understand now how to juggle between my family, my school life, right? And at that time, she was also working. So, put that context for the admissions officers to be able to kind of empathize with your situation, right? Like they know that we're not perfect. Sometimes life just happens, right? And when life happens, just let them know. And put it that way. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the outline, right? If you take a look at, let's say, a Groningen or a KCL, they're going to ask you to write a motivational letter. So when they're asking you to write a motivational letter, the most challenging aspect of this is the fact that they don't tell you what to write, right? And when they don't tell you what to write, you can go everywhere, right? And you can put in a lot of irrelevant details that you might not have needed in the first place. But the easiest part is in the introduction, whether or not you're trying to switch majors, whether or not you're sticking in the same original major, let us know what it is you're passionate about this topic, right? But what is key in the introduction is, what is the tangible goal that you have by enrolling in this major? And with this, what I mean is not to say like, I want to become a mechanical engineer so that I can make Indonesia a much better place, right? That is way too vague, but instead you want to say something like, I want to become a mechanical engineer so I can improve, let's say, the transportation infrastructure and reduce congestion in Indonesia, right? That is a tangible goal. So the difficulty is if you don't have a tangible goal like that, your entire essay doesn't have an anchor, right? Because all the universities will ask you, why do you want to come here? And if your general answer has been vague from the very beginning, this section here, the section where it says your future is actually, it's not going to be strong. So typically, right, this isn't a foolproof formula. You don't have to do it this way, but this is how we like to do it. So after the introduction, what we want to discuss is your past experiences, right? Here you can elaborate a little bit on okay, elaborate on the most important work experience that you've had, right? Because I know that if I work on a job for 3 years, my scope of work is huge, but just pick one that you want to talk about because you had the most impact in it, right? The most important part is you have to discuss what you learned from it, right? And how perhaps you will apply this knowledge into our university, into the university that you're going to. You can also discuss other things like your student organization experience if you don't have enough work experience, right? So oftentimes, if it's a 2-page paper, you might find it difficult to write about only your work experience because you've only worked for 1 or 2 years, right? In that case, I would pivot to a student organization experience, right? And the chances are with student experiences, what you're going to talk about is more on the soft skills. So in that sense, you can talk about things that are less technical, such as communication skills, right? Your ability to negotiate, your leadership skills. Those are also things that a lot of different universities look for. And believe it or not, it can make it or break it for your scholarship, right? If you want to impress the admissions officers, I would also say mention the time that you won an award or a competition as well. Like you don't need to dedicate an entire paragraph of how you won it and how you're the best at it, right? But you could just simply say, through hard work, I was able to land #1 in my architecture exhibition, right? And kind of move on from there. So that's it for your past experiences. If you notice, I actually didn't tell you what's the body paragraph #1, right? What's the body paragraph #2, #3, because it depends on what you write, right? But the thing is that you need to connect them all together. As a subsection, the next one should be your future. So you have to say why this university in particular, right? What I would encourage you to do is try not to say things like, I want to attend New York University because it is the most prestigious university for finance. Its ranking is #1, right? These universities already know. Sorry, can you go back?
Oh, kepencet kayaknya.
Kepencet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. So try not to mention the university's rankings because they already know that you want to go there since they're the best, right? But instead, I would open up their website. I would take a look at, specific university resources, like what classes do you want to learn? Which professors do you want to learn from, right? Especially if you're interested in any of them that are research oriented, student clubs that you want to join, exchange programs as well, right? So if you notice, almost all of the universities before that we listed ask why you want to apply to this university. The last one, they don't explicitly ask you what you can contribute to the university, but what we find is that students don't cover that, right? They'll always say that they want to take from the university, but at the same time, you have to understand that as a student there, you're going to be contributing as well. So if you could put a small paragraph explicitly to be able to say, hey, like, I'm a great team player. If you accept me into your university, I'm able to, bring innovation into the spirit of the team, right? I'm open-minded and we know we can get a lot done together, something like that, right? And the easiest part is the conclusion, which is, be enthusiastic for this university. Okay, next. This is an actual essay by one of the students who work with us, right? She had gone into LSE this year for social innovation and entrepreneurship. And what we'd like to show you are two of her essays, right? So the structure of LSE is a little bit different where they ask for 2 short statements. The first one is, why do you want to do this program and what you will bring to the cohort, right? The way that she structured it is that this is more of it's an essay that focuses on the past, right? Then there's another essay that focuses on the future when they ask, what will you accomplish in LSE, right? So instead of reading it out loud, I think I'll give you guys like 2 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes to read it, and then we can kind of discuss what's good about it, right? And there'll be 2 slides for this. Some water.
Meanwhile, while the others might take their own time to read this essay, this is only the first page. We will flip to the next page and like after 1 minute. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put in the chat box, especially if it's about essay, because currently we're in the essay section, because next section we'll talk about how to improve your writing, which can definitely be helpful for your essay and your resume.
Yeah. So maybe like as you guys read this, I can just do a voiceover, right? Like in the first few paragraphs here, what she discusses is her own her goal, right? So she wants to become a social innovation and in the entrepreneurship program because she wants to enter the farming industry, right? So if you could specify the industry that you want to be in, it is going to be stronger than, you know, being a little bit generic about it. Then she is able to showcase her strong business sense, right? Because she's applying for business here by showcasing the context, right? Like, why do we have this problem? And then here she's able, when you say in the short run, she can discuss what her short-term goal is and what her long-term goal is, right? So more often than not, what I would suggest to people is you can break down your goal, right? So when they ask you, why do you want to apply to this program? You can say your short-term goal and your long-term goal. And this is especially true if you're applying for the MBA, right? So the first paragraph here is just, you know, what does she want to do with this degree, right? And she's quite specific about it. Then the second paragraph is about her own opportunities, right? To answer Efta's question, she didn't put this paragraph, her second paragraph, in her resume, right? But she was able to explain how having a background from the UK and having a background, you know, being in Indo had given her some cultural sensitivity. So the angle that she brought out in the second paragraph is about, you know, being culturally adaptable. Okay, so in every single paragraph of these, you need to have the so what, right? Next. Then she's able to discuss another one of her strengths, right? Which is her ability to communicate. So if in the second paragraph, it's about cultural understanding, her third paragraph, the strength is communication, right? And she gives an example for how, for what she can bring to the table, right? Which is the strong communication rollout, the messaging, the channel, the timing. And then she also ties it in again to the fact that her bilingual ability helps her do this, right? Then her fourth paragraph is about her internship in Tokopedia, which exists in her, in her resume. When you are describing the place that you intern, feel free to add a short description of what it's about, right? But again, her so what from this is, you know, I'm able to understand different models of verticals, right? I understand the difference between selling B2B, B2C, C2B, and C2C, right? So she kind of demonstrates that technical knowledge with, you know, what we call business jargon. Okay. And then what she does in closing is, what she does in closing is, like, she says, you know, I'm a bright student. Again, be a little bit shameless to sell yourself. And then she is able to embrace challenges enthusiastically. She wants to bring, you know, her spirit of curiosity, right? So she has this entire long list of why they should take her in. Okay, next. Now, this is the one that's future looking, right? So they ask her, how will your past experience combined with this master's help you achieve your goals, right? Some people may get confused because, wait, the first one and the second one, they're so similar to each other, right? Like, they're asking about my past again. If you are smart, you would make sure that the topics you cover or the examples that you use are a bit different. So let's see, her first paragraph here, she reiterates that she wants to scale her social venture, right? But she doesn't go into too much detail about it. But again, like what we had said before, she discusses the gap that she doesn't have, right? So a lot of the times in these, it is okay for you to say, I need a more formal business education because I don't have some particular skill, right? You could say, you know, when I volunteered in BTA, I realized that I wanted to become better in delegating work to people. And therefore, I want to take a master's in management, right? Because you're not saying that you can't do it. You're saying that I want to learn how to do it, right? So to Efta's question again, the second paragraph is about her home bakery business, which does not exist in her resume when she wrote this, right? But she's talking about her past experiences, and in here, she discusses finance, right? So whereas in her previous essay, she's only talking about, you know, culture, communication, in this essay, she starts to become technical, right? She shows what exact skill sets that she has. In the third paragraph, you notice that she's name dropping a couple of professors, like Professor Ashram, right, on his work in altruistic capital. She mentions the exact class that she wants to take, which is social innovation design, right? Next. And then finally, she mentions the student club in LSE that she wants to join, right? Basically, the master's essays, they're not rocket science. They just require you to really think through, you know, what skill set do you want to let other people know you have? Because to be honest, once you work, you have so many different skill sets, right? But you can't say I'm good at finance, I'm good at marketing, operations, human resources. You've got to narrow it down, right? So for her, what she sold is I'm good at communications. I like to learn, I'm proactive, and this is how LSE will help me achieve, you know, the social venture. Next. Does anybody have any questions so far? Good. Okay.
Oh,
So,
Mbak Efta raised a hand again.
okay.
But Sharon, I want to ask you about like connecting the features, you know, with the second essay. So I have kind of challenging to write it down about this because basically my background in audit, but I want to focus in forensic audit, forensic accounting. So what I want to write is during my working experience, I'm dealing with a lot of fraud cases, which is basically in my bachelor degree, I don't have, you know, like proper educations to what it calls to find more about frauds. But now when I'm working and I'm dealing with a lot of fraud cases, I kind of want to focus on this thing in forensic accounting or forensic audit. So it's the bridging between my previous experience and my motivations. I mean, like it can cause like the gap, yeah. So how to say it like smoothly, you know? Thank you.
Actually, what you said was perfect, right? It was you. So maybe in your introduction, you could say like, I'm an auditor, and then you can give an actual case where you found fraud, right? Let's say it's like a significant amount of fraud, right? That would have impacted the company. And you can say that inspired you to move into forensics accounting, right? And that would have been fine. That's your motivation to move. That's very interesting.
Thank you,
That works perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's if like I'm looking forward to read that essay because yeah, the major that you're applying to is very anti-mainstream, right? It's a forensics accounting.
Yeah, thank you, Ma.
Okay.
So we only have 9 minutes left.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, that's
Are we still gonna talk about this one because we only have 10 minutes left?
Yes, you can talk about
Okay,
that.
how about show the
Okay.
next slide? Show not this slide, show, okay, next slide, the actual next slide. Yes. The common pitfalls people make.
Oh, before this, yeah. Now we're gonna talking about you know, improve your writing because we have a limit time left, so we're gonna talk about this one. So the first common mistake that we Indonesian often use because again English is not our first language. The first one is wrong word. You know, like the effect and effect is the same word. You know, if you listen to it, it's like the same meaning, but actually it has different meaning. The effect is I don't think if it's, I think it's verb, and the effect is noun. So if you write your essay, if you write your resume, you have to be careful to choose your words, because if you choose the wrong words, it will, you know, it will have a different meaning. It will affect your essay. And the next common mistakes is single or split. Like altogether and altogether have a same connotation, have same pronunciation, but it actually have a different meaning in English. Like altogether means as one, while altogether means completely. So you have to be careful to choose your words, to look through your vocabulary, look through your dictionary, so you can choose which one is which one. And the third one is mechanical error with quotation. As you can tell, that quotation marks crucially show where the words end and our own begin. So when you use the quotation mark, you use it before your after your comma, like the correct one. Next, and the abbreviations. When you want to use the abbreviations, you have to make sure that you put the full sentence first before you put the abbreviations in the bracket. And next, the verb reference, like you can see that the sentence is Rachel and her sister posed for a photograph, but when the flash went off, she blinked. When you put it like this, the reader will then know that she referred to the Rachel or to her sister. So you have to put her name instead, just put Rachel, so the reader wouldn't be confused. And the next one is repetitions of words, just as well and and. So you have to choose your conjunction carefully. Next, the next is the use of semicolon. The semicolon, you know, in Indonesia, we don't really use this as much as in English. So you have to be careful. Usually when you use the semicolon, you have to put the, you know, the conjunction, like it is, or like but, like and, but other than that, you can also put the subject, like it is also old, not directly put also old. And the last one is commas. There are three kinds of commas in English, actually, and Indonesian also. The first one is comma splice. As you can see, that this is the common mistakes that we Indonesians often make. Like koala bears are not actually bears; they are marsupials. It's not right, because when you put it that way, you have to put conjunction like but, or if you don't want to put the conjunction, you can just use the semicolon or period in the sentence. And the next one is unnecessary comma. If you put too much commas in your sentences, it will come, you know, kind of choppy, because there are unnecessary comma in the sentences. And the last one is missing comma after an introductory element. This is the opposite of the unnecessary comma, where you have to put comma after like this. You can just read the sentences like, after rainy season, the floods begin and enter people's homes and cars. So you have to be careful to put your commas where it's the right time, where it's not the right time. Okay, next. This is just an example of why comma, why semicolon, why punctuation is very, very important. Like, I'm sorry, I love you is different from I'm sorry, I love you. And you know, the next one is let's eat grandma. It's different from let's eat grandma. So you have to put your commas, you have to put your punctuation carefully. Okay, next.
Does anybody want to ask anything else? If not, I think we'll make this the last one. I think DC will cover this last slide so she can get her speaking part in. And then after that, we'll close.
Okay, maybe I will explain the key points. So I'm gonna show you one example. So you should be careful with the connotation. At the first example, there are economical versus cheap. So when you want to deliver your message, make sure that it sounds positive. So we can see that economical tend to be have a better meaning like logical and wise. Meanwhile, cheap is only a derogatory term for someone stingy. Next. So these are other things about grammar tips that you can consider. The first is sentence cleanup. You should ensure your sentence is not too wordy because you want your reader to be understand to your writing, and so you can remove just like someone who is. So you can say only I am dedicated. Next, there are active versus passive voice. So it's only talk about subject and the action that performed by the subject. We can see that active voice gives more clarity by putting the subject first. The third, you can vary word count per sentence. So we can see at the first sentence, there are actually two separate sentences, and we can make it simple by combining it. Become unfortunately, Annie didn't see him coming and was so caught off guard that she fell down and never got a good look at him. So maybe it is more clearly understandable. And the next, you can eliminate repetition. So instead of using same words in the same sentences repeatedly, you can remove one of them. Like you can use only the word total instead of putting the complete in it.
Yeah, I think we have one question from YouTube. Jess.
Could you please show us how we can include statistics in our personal statement? Okay, I think this referred to the one where we mentioned about accomplishments, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to answer to this. Feel free to add up if you guys have anything else. So how can you best include statistics in your personal statement? Remember when we talk about accomplishments, right? About, let's say within each of your paragraphs, you are focusing on a certain thing. Let's say you focus on your work experience, and then probably the next thing you focus more on the courses that you're really interested in, right? Depends on what the prompt that you're actually writing about. And how you can mention statistic is more on the experiences that you've had. Let's say that you have these experiences, work experiences, and then you want to showcase that you not only have the skills related to that particular job, but you also have achieved something like the revenue. Let's say you asked the 100.
Yeah, I put it in the group chat. So like, I think to make it concrete, I just put a sentence in there, right? Because if you don't put in the statistics, what will show up here is like as, okay, let's say this is non-statistic. Yeah, let me just type it in. I think it's easier. As a part of the So there are two sentences that I put in the Zoom, right? One is filled with the statistic and the other has no statistics. You can actually see which one is stronger.
Yeah. And
put it that simply.
Sharon has kindly put an example like $2 million. Then what she meant by that is it's okay, again, to brag about what you've accomplished rather than feeling, oh, I don't want to showcase, that much accomplishment. I just really feel bad about it. Sometimes that's how we feel, right? But that's not how you want to do it with your graduate essay.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have to put a statistic in every sentence because that's probably going to kill the mood. But when you find one that is impressive, I would add that in.
Oh, there's
Just the
another
way-
interesting question. Can I put in an inciting incident? So the incident that triggers the writer that she or he has experienced in the personal statement.
Yes. I mean, as long as it's not offensive, right? As long as like you're not dissing somebody else, you're not saying, oh, this person is, not smart, dumb, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That's fine. Don't be that honest.
Okay, jadi positive, and we
Yeah.
probably, and kind of think like whatever experiences or challenges that you've come across. Also remember, if you talk about challenges, then don't focus too much on like how you failed, and think of that experience as you showing your vulnerability side that you can fail as well, but focus on how you get up from that experience. Like,
Yeah.
what are the lessons learned? Like, you actually get up and do something that are like way better.
Yeah. Try not to focus on somebody else's failure as well. Right? Like maybe the inciting incident is that your manager doesn't do a good job, but just try to phrase it quite nicely to say like, oh, the team was struggling to get it together, instead of saying my manager wasn't capable.
Yeah,
When
like
you're writing, yeah.
people, yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, I wonder if this questions actually came from the YouTube. Is that correct, Kak Putri?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
thank
correct.
you
Yes.
for forwarding these questions.
Okay.
What are the best way to brainstorm
I've
what
sent.
we write in our personal statement? It is so overwhelming to start writing.
Okay. The best way to start brainstorming your writing is first you set aside your CV, right? Then, if I were you, I would kind of build an outline of the key points. But when I write, I don't want to think. I just want to write, and all the grammar, like even if you see grammatical mistakes, even if you hate this sentence, my suggestion is just write it, right? Because I've seen that when I'm tutoring a student and they want to write in perfection, in 1 hour, they wrote one sentence, right? Whereas if you had written everything you wanted to write in your mind in 15 minutes, you would have done a paragraph. But starting by doing that, right? I forgot, I think it's called free writing, which is used in creativity workshops, is one of the best ways to start writing, right? Like you don't care, right? And you would produce something. Because whatever you write next cannot be worse than that. Anything else?
Hey guys, maybe there's any other question from you regarding the preparing resume, personal statement?
Yeah, there's another one. She said, thanks, Origo. Do you provide writing workshop?
Yes, we do. So we can typically work one-on-one for the masters, right? And if you would like, we can help you brainstorm through your CV what it is you should put in there and what it is you can take out. Yeah, but we can. Is that the end of it? Jessica, you're still on mute.
Oh my God, I'm super sorry. I think you saw like how excited like my mouth is. You kind of noticed that I was on mute. Yeah, just like as a last thingy, we have this essay worksheet that you can learn from and you can start practicing. I'm just going to drop it here. And for the comedy, I might need your help to share this worksheet to the rest of the people who are in your WhatsApp group, right? So this worksheet, I might just like do a little bit of screen share if I may. Okay, so this consists of first essay writing practice, like questions to ask yourself. So for the participant who asked how to start brainstorming, then this is how you can best start the brainstorming process. And underneath the questions is just like how you can actually start writing some few sentences. Remember, don't worry about the grammar, just write it out what's in your head. After that, this is only the drafting process. It will require some few. like before finalization?
I mean, if you're not editing and throwing away a lot of paragraphs, you're not working hard enough on it, right? So if you're editing and if it looks different each time, then you're making progress. Yeah.
It's been really great.
We keep practicing over and over. Yeah, definitely. So sometimes if you guys have a book, right, and you're not a native speaker, what I find helpful is that you just literally write down the words that a book has. Because if you do that, you learn how to form the sentence structure of the author. And that kind of makes you realize how it compares to your own writing. And reading would help a lot, like reading the newspaper.
Yeah, wow. All right. Okay, maybe from Origo Steve, there's some closing statement from you guys to all of us.
Yeah, so
about the,
I mean, we definitely like to thank you for your time, right? Because it is a little bit over 8:30. If you have, any questions, if you want to contact us anyhow, I think Jessica can drop the email, right? But we hope that you learned a lot about, the different applications in, Europe and in Australia, right? And hopefully this will help you be able to put through a successful graduate application.
yeah, of course. I think, yeah, there's so many insight and almost cover everything what we need to emphasize to be aware of in creating the personal statement or our resume. And by that, as a result, yeah, we could make a strong one to showcase our accomplishment, right? So yeah, thank you so much from the sharing from the Origo team, Kak Sharon, Kak Jessica, Kak Gracia, and Kak Ines. Okay, I think that's sum up our session. We already reached an end of our class. So yeah, for as usual, it's time for us to take picture together. Person host, Karaki, may help to take it.
All right. So everyone, I encourage you to open your camera, show your beauty and handsome faces.
Yeah,
So
on your camera, guys.
So your face will exist on our Instagram.
Yes, yes.
And like, feel free if you guys want to take a pic and then repost it and then share that in your Instagram by tagging Origo EDU. Who knows that we might have some giveaway thing in the future and we will remember who tagged us and we will contact you if you have any interesting things coming up.
All right. Are you ready, guys? I see there's some of you.
Come on, guys.
I will count in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go. Give your best pose, guys. In 1, 2, 3. Cheers. All right. Wait a moment. All right, next. Give your best pose in 1, 2, and 3. Cheers. All right, thank you so much, Britzoners. Thank you so much, Origo team.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Origo team. Thank you so much, Britzone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yesterday.
Please don't forget to not leave the WhatsApp group right away because yeah, we will give you the feedback link and reveal so the form for you who still have further question to Origo's team as well. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and see you in the next Britzone class.
See you
See
guys.
you.
See you guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Guys,
See
see
you
you,
guys.
Thank you,
for joining
Origo.
me. This film was my
Thank
favorite.
you
And
Howdy.
for
adios.
joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you for the safety.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, for that.